the side of the tank right here and see what happens. But first, before I hit the old tank, I'm gonna hit the new one. Now let's hit this other one. Oh no, that's pretty thin. I'd say that's really thin. Let's hit the bottom of the tank for giggles to see how it holds up. And that's all there is to it. Setting up, and then all of a sudden my tank's cracked and I didn't hold water in it. Just like that. At the campground. So you just witnessed right after my tank cracked here, we just pulled into a campsite and filled with water, and because we don't have hookups here, drove maybe about 500 feet, parked, and was setting up the stabilizer jacks, and all of a sudden water started leaking from this area of the tank underneath, and then just a little bit dripping, and then all of a sudden it just went where you saw in that video I just showed you. So now it's all, the tank is empty, it's all dried up here, and you can kind of see the crack. Let me zoom out so you get an idea where I'm at on the side corner, which I've done additional bracing all along here. I didn't think I needed it on the ends because usually this is really strong through here. So what's happened is it's cracked here down slightly and across, and so when the water went, this pulled down and water was gushing out. So I've got the tank dried out here, all this area. So what I'm going to do, just to temporarily fix this till I get a new tank, tape it, and then here I'm afraid the weight of the water will cause this to bow down again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a 2x4 somewhere around here and go across, and then run a strap all the way around to hold this up in place to keep this from bowing down until I get a new tank. Just so you know, we never travel with water unless we got to go from a spigot to fill up to our campsite. I've got the tape on here. I have a couple layers of it. This stuff really stuck real well to the tank. So I ran it way up to the top there, way past the crack. The crack's like here, and I ran it way past on both sides. So I'm going to go try and find a 2x4 to run across here to strengthen it so it doesn't pull down, which I think this thing would hold in place without even doing the 2x4 across, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to go find a board to put in. So I'm back home, and I ordered a tank from RecPro. So I'm going to go ahead and take all this apart. I'm going to take the tank down, the braces. I'll show you how I take those down, and take the tank out. We'll lay them side by side to look at them and compare. I think this original tank seems thinner than the RecPro tank that came. It's made by Alpha, and RecPro sells it. So we'll see how it works. So I'll show you how to pull a tank out. First, I'm going to go over to the other side and show you some of the fittings that come off of this tank. Here we are on the other side of the tank. I'm going to show you a few things. Here's the wires. These wires here are for the tank level sensors. These wires here come down to that pad there that is a heating pad that keeps the tank heated up in cold weather, so you don't get a freezing tank. And then this here is a drain here, the low point drain
for the tank itself. And it used to have a pitcock right here, and I removed it and I put an elbow here and ran it around and ran the hose bib right here so I could just reach under the trailer and open this drain to drain the tank. I always, before I leave a campsite, I open the drain and drain the water out. I don't travel with water if I can help it. So I'll have a link in the description below this video of that install when I did that. Then over here, this comes off the tank and it goes to the pump. And so sometimes the pump, if you have hooked up to city water, if you ever have water coming back through the pump and filling your tank here, that means the check valve in the pump is gone bad. So there's a few things you can do. You can bump the pump and it'll stop it from filling. It'll reset that check valve, but sometimes it won't. So I put this valve in just in case that fails. And then also at the pump I put a check valve. So I'll put a link in the description to that video below this video in the description so you can see that. And then here, this bigger pipe is where the water, you fill it and it comes in, it fills the tank. So it comes in, it fills the tank, and then once the water is going in there, you need somewhere for the air to release out. So the air will release out here and come out usually near your fill tube where you hook your hose up to fill the tank, and you'll hear a slight amount of air coming out of that hose there to the area where you're filling it. So if you didn't have that, then the water's gonna have a hard time flowing into the tank. And while we're down here, you might have watched this video already. I have my portable black and gray water tank that I needed to put it somewhere. I was carrying it around in my truck, and I wanted it somewhere where it was out of the way and where I can grab it anytime I need it when camping. They're fairly light, so I thought I'm going to mount it under here. So I made a special bracket that unhooks and folds down, and you can pull this out. So I'll put a link in the description below to that video. So I've done all kinds of modifications to this trailer. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking this apart here, and I'll show you how I do it. I'll try and show you as quickly as possible to not drag this video out. So let's get going.
So before I climb under the trailer, I make sure my stabilizers are down in the front of the trailer, just in case something happens here. I live in California, so maybe there could be an earthquake, which I doubt if there will be one, but if I didn't have the stabilizers down and this trailer rocked, it would fall over and then the trailer would drop closer to me. It might not crush me, but it might pinch me down under here. So I did that, and then also I turned the power off to the batteries so I can cut these wires that go to this pad, and then also disconnect the wires there to the tank sensor, level sensors. So I want to make sure the power is off there. So just a few things to keep in mind to make sure you stay safe. So I've gone ahead and removed the wires for the tank sensors here, and they're just hanging there. I've marked the tank saying the white wire goes here, the red, green, and yellow wire. That's helpful so you can remember where they go. You don't want to get those switched around when you put them back together. I use the 3/8 inch nut driver. It's important that you have these wires in the right order. So if I switch these around, it'd give me false readings at my light indicator board on the panel inside. So anyway, and then I went ahead and I cut the wires here with my wire cutters that go to my tank heater. So I'll go on to the next area to take apart. I'm going to do my best to show you how I remove off of the drain here this PEX clamp here. So you can see here there's a little tab here and it's bent over slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab on this side and this side of that tab with these side cutters, and it might take me a minute here.
Try and bend that tab straight. There you go. I'm bending it a little bit. Just like that. Once I've done that, I grab here. There you go. Then kind of pull it around. Get it pulled off like that. And just work it off. And just take it off like that. Kind of destroy it. You can't reuse it. And then I've already removed the other side over here, so I'm going to take this hose off. So I hope that helps you learn how to do that. I watched Michael Garland and remove it on his channel. So I've done it before, but I saw him do it the other day. So I'm doing a shout out to Michael Garland, and I'll put a link to his videos down in the description below this video. So I have both clamps off like I mentioned, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this hose off, and just so I don't get water all over where I'm laying, I've got a pan under here where I could drip into. So I'll go ahead and pull that hose off, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and this will be easy to remove because it's threaded in. I'll zoom in here a little bit. I'll thread it. It's threaded in, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it off and take it out because I'm going to use it on the new tank. So now we're going to go ahead and remove this hose here. It's a fill hose. I'm going to take these two clamps, loosen them up, and then here is the breather for the fill when you fill the tank. I'm going to go ahead and since this hose is long enough here and it's going to be moved here on the new tank, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this hose here because it's going to be really hard to get this PEX fitting apart here. And then I'll go ahead and twist this off. I want to remove these fittings before I drop the tank, so I eliminate the chance of breaking them if I drop the tank on the ground or they hit wrong. So it's better to have them out. I could replace the fittings with brass, but I've decided to keep these in place because they're working fine. So I'm happy with those. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off now. There is a tool that removes these PEX fittings, and I'll put a link to that in the description below, but I don't need to buy one of those tools and spend the money on it when I can just use the side cutters on it for the few I do. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these hoses. I've got this off. Now it'll be easy to remove this PEX clamp on the ground. Also on the spill tube, it just slides off, as you can see. Just slid right off. Now for the drain tube, I'm just going to loosen this clamp and slide it off, and then remove this PEX tubing right here. And then I think what I'll do is I'll do a PEX clamp here instead of this one, because these aren't really made for PEX tubing. So I'm going to go ahead and remove both sides and remove this hose. Before I go removing all my bracing here, I failed to mention that I had made another video, which I'll put a link to it in the description below, where I added additional frame bracing here to hold the tank up. I didn't do it at the end where the crack occurred down there, but I am going to add additional one in this video so you see how I do it. So take a look at that video and you'll see how I reinforce this tank. I'm going to go ahead and start removing these braces here. I'll show you how I do it. First off, I'm going to go ahead and remove these three additional bracings that I installed, the angle iron, and I just have them in with two bolts here with nuts on the back side of this angle iron, and then it right here is just notched and slid in place here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and then I'll do the factory braces. I'll show you how to take those out. So I've got my cross braces removed. There's 3 of them. You can see that white dot I have there. I've marked a white dot there so that I can put these things back right where they were. That's number 2, 3 down there. So I've done that, and I use my paint pen for that, which here's what it looks like. pretty nice to have. I'll put a link to that in the description below the video, so if you want to buy one of them. I use lock nuts on all my bolts so they won't work loose. Lock washers work, but lock nuts are better. It's funny seeing this again after my additional bracing has been removed. So from the factory, it only came with a brace here and there. So there wasn't much. I had added also this additional angle iron right here to butt up to theirs because this was actually bowing down, so this strengthened that. So it's just funny to see the little amount of bracing they have there. So now to drop the tank is going to be fairly easy. So what I've done here is on one side I've removed these self-tapping bolts. There's two on this side here, and right now this is towards the back of the trailer. This is the front of the trailer. So then over here, you can see there I haven't removed them yet. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them. Then I'm going to lay underneath the trailer here with my body underneath this tank. And luckily I have a COVID body where I gained some weight. So I'll have a cushion when the tank drops down. It could fall on my stomach. So I guess the COVID body is coming in handy here. So what happens here, this angle iron here is able to slide over out of the way. So, but this angle iron comes down and there's a little lip here. I've tried twisting this to get it so this comes off. This doesn't really move too much here on this end, but over here it does. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be able to push it up and slide that to the side so it's not through this hole anymore. Try to do the same over here, like that. Then I'm going to come over here on this side. I'm going to take my hammer and hammer this over if it'll go. The body underneath this thing so if it drops. Let's see, I'm going to knock this a little more. Get these things out of the way. You don't want to do this while the tank's full of water because it'll be really heavy. So see, now I can slide this back out of the way and the tank will just drop down. And it's fairly light. I think they're around 25, 30 pounds. And I'm going to slide it out from underneath the trailer. And now you can see what it looks like underneath here. So let's go up above and take a look and compare the two tanks, the old one and the new one. Here it is with the tank out. This is the one I just removed. You can see it's hanging down about 2 inches in the middle. It's caved in like that. So I don't know if that restricts how much water you can hold in the tank or not. This here is the RecPro one made by Alpha. It's made a little bit different. So the original one that came with the trailer is square here. This one here kind of goes out slightly and then in. It's made the side a lot stronger that way by doing that. So the measurements they take for this tank is 28 inches wide, 54 long, and 6 inches high. This tank is the same. I want to show you here. Here's where the water fills. It filled in the old one, and then this is the air breather here. But I measured here and here. This fill is a 1/2 inch taller, so it might hold more water. This one is supposedly holds a couple gallons less than that one. So this one you probably weren't getting a full tank when you filled up. So we'll see how that goes. I wish I'd measured how many gallons that held before and how many gallons this holds. So anyway, so these are in a little bit different location, which is fine. So I'm just going to hook them up. Then here you got your water level sensors, pretty much the same configuration. This one is red, red, green, and yellow, and then below one is white. So it's pretty much the same. Then here, let me slide this out. You can see here was the drain. So I'll have the drain here running out to my faucet that runs this underneath the trailer to the side area. Then this one here is the one that will go to, this one went to my pump. So this one will go to the pump. And I actually like it here better than here, because if there's any sediment in here, the pump won't suck it up into the pump, and it'll set in there, and then when you drain your tank, the sediment will come out the bottom. So I actually like that setup better. So I just saw this on top of the tank, on this tank that was in place. It said it's a 37-gallon tank. So the water heater holds 6 gallons. So 37 plus 6 gallons is 43 gallons. So the specs say 43 gallons on the trailer, but it's actually a 37-gallon tank. So I bet you a lot of the trailers are saying the capacity of the water supply is more than it actually is for the tank. So this tank here is the RecPro tank Alpha, made by Alpha Tank, is 39 gallons. So for fun, I'm just going to fill this up at the end with a water meter and see how many gallons it holds. This tank here, the original tank, I weighed it and it's 19.2 pounds. The RecPro tank is 25.8 pounds. So this RecPro tank is actually 6.6 pounds heavier than the other one. So it's noticeably different by strength and weight. Here's what the top of the tank looks like. It's not sagging. And it's probably got a 1/4 inch gap there. But this one feels like it's a lot stronger than the other one. This is a tank heating pad that is on the old tank. I didn't buy a new heating pad for the new tank because it's warm where we are in California, and I didn't think I need it, and didn't want to waste my money on it. So anyway, I took a putty knife and got under this and saw it's still sticky. And I might just take for fun and remove this pad and try and stick it on the new one and see how it works. With the help of my wife, we were able to get this pad off. She went ahead and pulled on the edge, and then I scraped under it with this 7-in-1 tool. We kind of damaged the rubber along the edges here, so the wires that are in here are inside this perimeter here. So we took and we cut off some on this side, all the way around. So it's a little smaller, as you can see probably in the color and the plastic right here. So we cut some off, but we still got the pad. We got all this is still sticky. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it on the new tank, and it should work. I quickly wiped down the area here where I'm going to put it with denatured alcohol. And you can see quite a bit of dirt came off. So it's nice and clean. I feel pretty confident sticking this down here. So I put it down, it's stuck real well. I used my roller that I used to put my Turn-to-Bond tape down with, and it worked good. Just pressed it, and it's really sealed up now. It won't come off. I'm happy with it. The old tank was square. Remember I showed you that? So actually, the measurement of this tank is 28 inches to here, and so the opening where the angle iron goes, it'd be sitting about like that with a gap down in the bottom corner. So I'm going to take this 1/4 inch rubber mat that I cut up. I cut a strip to go inside the angle iron, and I'm going to adhere it to the angle iron with adhesive, spray adhesive. And then that way the tank will be tight from side to side, won't slide around in the angle iron, because right now it'd be loose. If this was straight all the way down, I wouldn't have a problem. So I'm going to use rubber on each side of the tank, and it should be fine. So here's what it looks like with the rubber adhered to the metal. So I use adhesive. I spray it on both the rubber and the metal angle iron right here with the Gorilla spray adhesive, heavy duty. And I'll have links to all these products in the video description below. So I'll spray the rubber side too. You wait 1 minute and then push it up in place. I have the rubber strips in place and they're in there nice and tight. So I'm going to go ahead and put the tank in and just go in reverse order of how I took it out. So I'll be back to you soon on that. The new tank's installed. I failed to show you what I did here. I wanted the tank to be in the exact same location as the old one. And so in the beginning, I put a piece of tape here with an arrow showing where the edge of the tank would be. Let's go over here. The tank went in very easy, very easy. I like how this installed. So, and then over here, what I did was I installed an additional angle iron brace under the tank edge here, because remember it had broken over here. But this tank is built very well. It has a nice ridge on it, so it's a lot stronger. So I don't think it's going to have a problem falling apart on me in the future, the near future. So here we go. Here's the wires and the plumbing that we're going to have to reconnect. So let's go ahead and start connecting them. Let's get started installing the freshwater tank level sensors. So we're going to connect these wires just like this. We labeled where they go, so we remember where they go, just like we did on the other tank for removing them. So there's a nut behind here. So I have a nut driver, 3/8 inch. I'm going to loosen these up, take them off, and then put my wire on, then tighten them up. The wires are tight. When I'm done, when I get everything installed here, I'm going to zip tie everything in place nice and clean. So just so you know, there are different quality zip ties. So I like these black ones. They're thicker than a lot of white ones that you see. The white ones seem to break down more in sunlight and heat, and they'll crack and break. So I always go with the black zip ties. Next, we're going to do the tank fill right here, and then the breather for the tank. So when you're filling it, air can escape. Before, the hoses were over in this location on the other tank. So now I'm going to have to go ahead and cut them a little shorter. See this bracket right here, this black one. I'm going to unscrew it here from the floor and take it down so that I can maneuver it around. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to work from the top down rather than install stuff here and then try and reach around it to get to the top. So I'm going to go from the top down. While I was getting the fill tube ready to cut and put up here, which you can see I marked with a felt pen, when you do this, cut them a little longer, and then you can always cut them shorter because you can't add hose to this, so you don't want to cut it too short. I noticed that this hose, it comes in here high, and then what it was doing, it was coming in below the wires. It was actually coming here low and then swooping around and then going up to this here. So what I did is I took and moved it all above the wires here so that now it'll be up high and the water won't be trying to come in and go down and then up into the tank. This way it's going into the tank. So this will help with filling it a little better. So I got this done, and so I'm going to get this ready because I'm going to hook this hose up first and then this one. So I'll take this cap off. So when I slide this on, it'll slide on. I won't forget this cap is in place there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and then I'm going to install my fitting here. So I put 5 wraps of Teflon tape around the threads here. If you're ever doing the Teflon tape on threads and you screw your fitting into this and it feels really loose when you get it tightened down,
go ahead and take it out and wrap some more wraps on it until you feel it nice and tight. If not, you're going to get a leak here. So that's a word of advice. I'm going to go ahead and put this on right now. So I have my hose cut just right. I have my PEX clamp in place. I've tightened this up. Just so you know, when I tightened it up, it was just the right tension in here, screwing in place with that amount of tape on it. So if I went more tape, it might have made it too big, and then if you go too tight with too much tape, it could split the side here. So you got to get it just right so you're happy with it. My tubing, what I've been doing, I cut it with my PVC cutters, or you can use a utility knife. And then I have my PEX clamp tool here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here and clamp it in place. Try and do it so I don't block the camera. Hold everything in place. Right there. You got one shot at it, so, and you just go it until it's tight, and then it comes off easily, and it's like that. It releases, the tool releases once it's all the way tight. So we're good. So now we'll go ahead and put this on in place. Slide it on. Try to slide it on. There we go. Make sure it's all not kinked or anything. And then what I'll do is I'll put these on and I'll clamp them in place. Now we'll do from this location right here, I'm going to put some Teflon tape on here, put it in just like I did the one up above here. And it's going to go here to this side, which goes to the pump. So before I had the hose came over here somewhere, it was shorter. I'm going to need a longer hose with this tank. So I got the hose here, and I'll put a 1/2 inch PEX clamp here, and on the other end, we'll just go across like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together and come back to you to show you what it looks like. So this is all done. Now we're going to go over to a low point drain. A lot of the newer trailers have a bigger opening than this one. This is 1/2 inch. I think some of the new ones have 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So before I had this drain going over here to my hose bib to drain it, pretty small. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going with the bigger size here. I got 3/4 inch PEX, and I got the fittings here to go from here over to here. This doesn't flex very well, so I'm going to try something to make it flex. I have a small torch that I could use, so I'm going to connect it here, and then I'm going to just try and heat slightly along here on it, and then try and bend it so it goes to this spot. So we'll see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and get going and put my Teflon tape on these, replace them out like that. This will be like that, and we'll see how it goes. So I was actually able to use my torch, and the way I did it, instead of holding it to the fitting, was had my torch running. It'll stay on. I can make it stay on, and I just warmed this tubing up all the way around. Just kept going around and around and getting it warm. I didn't get it real hot. I didn't want to melt through it or put any burn marks in it. And then while I did it, I was flexing it inward, working it slowly. And then I held it here, and I held it past the 90 degrees. So, and then I took it and I dipped it in cold water, and then it stayed like this. So it's perfect. It worked out perfect. So this is one way to bend it. I could have cut it and put a 90 here, but this works out better. I like sweeps like this. So I gotta say, this really turned out good. I did the 3/4 inch PEX clamps here. This turned out better than I ever expected. So now this is done, so you can see my hose bib to drain the tank over on the side. And so now we're going to connect for the heat mat, the tank heater, hook the wires back up, and then should be close to done with this project. I got the wires stripped with my stripping tool, and then I have a connector here, my crimp connector tool to crimp these together. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and heat shrink these onto the wires. Just keep the heat moving and it'll slowly shrink down and make a watertight seal. If you don't keep it moving, it's going to burn or catch fire. So just like that. Now we'll do the red one. Just like that, I heat it too much. Same with that one. Got to keep the heat moving. Just like that. Now it's nice and sealed. Now we'll go ahead and zip tie everything up in place. I was just zip tying wires up to the tank sensors, and notice this wire that goes to one of the tank sensors, and it's just hanging on by a couple threads, so it looks like the factory didn't install it properly. I'm glad I caught it, so I'm going to replace it with a new crimp connector on the end there. So that's not very good because it won't send a good signal to let me know how full the tank is or how empty it is. So let's fix that. There, that's a lot better. I really like how this turned out. You can see I zip tied everything up in place. It's so much cleaner than when it came from the factory. I actually like having a trailer with no underbelly under it because I'm able to check wires. Like I caught the wires there that were barely hanging on to that connector. The tank, when it burst, I was able to see it do that. If I had an underbelly, I wouldn't be able to see the faulty wiring jobs, and also the tank. I would have wondered where that water was coming from. So it's I think it's pretty nice. I'm lucky I live in a climate where I don't need an underbelly under here. So right now I'm filling the tank. I have a water meter on here. I want to check to make sure it holds 39 gallons like they say it does, and also check for leaks. I want to make sure there's no leaks in this tank before I take it out. I'm going to make another video later of how to disinfect the tank and the water system in an RV, so keep an eye out for that. Once I make that, I'll put a link to that video in the description below this one. And if you already subscribe, you can get a notification of that video when it comes out. I usually try and come out with videos on Fridays. So I'm going to fill this tank up and see if we actually get 39 gallons in it. The tank just filled up and it stopped at 37.1 gallons, so it's just shy of 2 gallons. So let's go underneath the trailer and look and see how full the tank is. Going up under here, I see no leaks, so that's good. And then I think if you look close, you can see the water is maybe a ½ inch or so from the top. So that's because the fill tube comes in and is a little bit lower than the top of the tank, like I mentioned before. So that seems about right. It's probably a couple of gallons short of being full. So I'm okay with that. They can't really get that fill tube much higher than it is already. Well, that concludes the video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. I appreciate you watching. If you like, hit the subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of future videos if you haven't done so already. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up tab. Appreciate that too. Feel free to write comments or ask questions anytime you want, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
it's helpful for others to read the comment section and kind of learn from others of what their experiences are with these tanks and what we go through in the RV world. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care and happy camping.